A chance encounter. Gareth Eldon was having a bad day. Scratch that, he was having a bad year. Ever since his girlfriend had left him for a hotshot pilot and his cargo hauling business went belly up, it seemed like the universe was determined to kick him while he was down. As he sat in the dingy bar on Omega Station, nursing a whiskey and wallowing in his wounded pride, Gareth had no idea that his luck was about to change in a big way. The flickering holoscreen above the bar was tuned to the Galactic News Network, the usual mix of political scandals and celebrity gossip filling the screen. Gareth was about to tune it out when a flash of purple caught his eye. The announcer's voice was urgent as she delivered breaking news. "We're receiving reports of a distress call from the Andromeda Galaxy. The call appears to be from a previously unknown species and is directed specifically at human males." Gareth sat up straighter, his interest piqued. The holoscreen shifted to display an image that made his jaw drop. It was a female humanoid with skin a vivid shade of lavender and eyes that glowed like molten gold. "Please," the alien female said, her voice musical and pleading. "If any human males receive this message, I need your help. My name is Lilith, and my people are in grave danger. You're our only hope." The image cut off, replaced by the stunned face of the GNN announcer. "Authorities are still trying to verify the authenticity of this message," she said, "but if it is genuine, it represents a historic moment. The first recorded contact between our species and the beings of Andromeda." Gareth barely heard her. His mind was racing, his heart pounding. This was it, his chance to do something meaningful, to be more than just another washed-up freighter jock. He downed his whiskey and stood, a grin spreading across his face. To hell with the authorities, the experts, the naysayers. He was going to answer that call. He was going to save the damsel in distress and show the galaxy what humanity was made of. As he strode out of the bar, Gareth felt a new sense of purpose. He might not have a ship, a crew, or a clue, but he had something more important, the human spirit. "Hold on, Lilith," he muttered under his breath. "The cavalry is coming." Gareth's first stop was his old friend Rigo's place. If anyone could help him get ship-shaped for this insane mission, it was Rigo. The man was a mechanical genius, able to coax life out of the most battered hulks. "You're out of your mind," Rigo said when Gareth explained the plan. "Flying off to Andromeda, chasing some alien tail. That's a long way to go for a booty call." Gareth grinned, unabashed. "What can I say? When a lady calls, I answer. Especially when she's got legs up to her eyeballs and a voice like honey." Rigo shook his head, but there was a glint of admiration in his eye. "You always were a sucker for a pretty face," he said. "All right, I'll help you get your ship in order, but you owe me big time." As Rigo worked his magic on Gareth's battered freighter, the Starwind, Gareth set about gathering supplies and information. The Galactic Data Net was abuzz with speculation about Lilith's message, but hard facts were scarce. The few images of Lilith that had accompanied her distress call were tantalizing, hinting at a graceful form and eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. Gareth found himself staring at them for long minutes, his imagination running wild. But he knew he couldn't afford to get too distracted. He had a job to do, a damsel to rescue. And if that rescue happened to involve some interspecies hanky-panky, well, that was just a bonus. As the Starwind's refit neared completion, Gareth received an unexpected message from the Galactic Defense Council. "Mr. Eldon," said the stern-faced official on the screen, "we understand you intend to respond to the Andromedan distress call. We must advise against this course of action. The risks are too high, the unknowns too many." Gareth leaned back in his chair, a cocky smile on his face. "With all due respect," he said, "I'm not in the habit of letting bureaucrats tell me what risks are worth taking. This is a chance for humanity to show what we're made of, to reach out to a species in need. I'm not going to pass that up." The official frowned. "This isn't a game, Mr. Eldon. You could be flying into a trap or worse. The Council cannot condone or support this mission." "I'm not asking for your support," Gareth said. "I'm just asking you to stay out of my way. Humanity didn't get to the stars by playing it safe. We got here by taking chances, by pushing boundaries. That's what I'm going to do. He cut the connection before the official could respond, feeling a rush of adrenaline. This was really happening. He was going to Andromeda to answer the call of an alien beauty in distress. As he made his final preparations, Gareth's thoughts kept returning to Lilith. What would she be like in person? Would there be a spark between them, a connection that transcended species and star systems? There was only one way to find out. With a final check of the Starwind systems, Gareth plotted his course for Andromeda, for adventure, for glory, for the booty. The jump to Andromeda was like nothing Gareth had ever experienced. The stars stretched and distorted around the Starwind, the fabric of space-time warping as the ship hurtled through the cosmic void. For a brief, dizzying moment, Gareth felt like he was everywhere and nowhere at once, his atoms scattered across a billion light-years. Then, with a jolt that rattled his teeth, the Starwind popped back into normal space. And there it was, Andromeda, a swirling spiral of stars and dust so similar to the Milky Way, and yet utterly alien. Gareth felt a thrill run through him, a sense of wonder tinged with trepidation. Somewhere in that vast galaxy was Lilith, the mysterious beauty who had called out to him across the void. Gareth checked the coordinates she had included in her message, plotting a course for a small, unremarkable star system near the galaxy's edge. The galaxy's edge. As Gareth approached the unremarkable star system near the galaxy's edge, the vastness of Andromeda seemed both intimidating and awe-inspiring. The Starwind glided silently through the star-studded expanse, its hull reflecting the distant starlight. Gareth kept his gaze fixed on the screen, the coordinates flashing before him like a beacon guiding him to his destiny. The star system consisted of a handful of planets and a few asteroids, with one planet standing out, an icy, blue-green orb orbiting a dim star. The planet's surface was dotted with strange, angular structures, barely visible through the swirling clouds of its atmosphere. Gareth adjusted the ship's trajectory, preparing for descent. He couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. He was about to land on an alien world, one that might hold the answers to Lilith's distress call and the key to his own redemption. As the Starwind descended through the planet's atmosphere, Gareth marveled at the view. The icy surface below shimmered with a faint blue glow, illuminated by the star's weak light. Large crystalline formations jutted from the surface, casting long shadows across the landscape. The ship touched down gently on a flat expanse, its landing gear sinking slightly into the soft, snow-like substance. Gareth took a deep breath, his heart racing. This was it, the moment he had been waiting for. He gathered his gear and prepared to disembark, his mind filled with thoughts of Lilith. What kind of world was this? What kind of people would he find? And most importantly, would he be able to help them in time? The ramp descended with a hiss, and Gareth stepped onto the alien soil. The air was crisp and cold, tinged with the faint scent of something metallic. He activated his environmental suit, ensuring it was sealed tight. As he ventured away from the Starwind, he noticed a series of faint tracks in the snow-like substance, leading towards the distant crystalline structures. Gareth followed the tracks, his boots crunching softly with each step. The tracks led him to a large dome structure partially buried in the snow. It was unlike anything Gareth had ever seen, an intricate blend of geometric shapes and organic curves, glowing softly with an inner light. The entrance was a large archway, partially covered by frost. Gareth hesitated for a moment, then pressed forward, pushing aside the frost to reveal a set of sliding doors. The doors opened with a low hum, revealing a brightly lit interior. The walls were lined with glowing symbols and intricate patterns, casting a warm, inviting light. Gareth stepped inside, his eyes adjusting to the light. The air was warmer here, filled with the faint hum of machinery. He moved cautiously through the corridor, following the signs that seemed to guide him towards the central chamber. As he entered the central chamber, Gareth was greeted by a stunning sight. The room was filled with a group of aliens, all of them humanoid, but with distinct features: lavender skin, golden eyes, and elegant, flowing garments. At the center of the room stood Lilith, her presence commanding attention. She was even more breathtaking in person, her eyes reflecting a mix of relief and hope. "Lilith," Gareth said, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm Gareth Eldon. I came in response to your distress call." Lilith's eyes widened with surprise and gratitude. She stepped forward, her graceful movements drawing the attention of everyone in the room. "You came," she said, her voice a soothing melody. "You actually came." Gareth nodded, trying to mask his nervousness. "I didn't come all this way to turn back now. Tell me what's going on. How can I help?" Lilith's expression grew serious as she motioned for Gareth to follow her. "Come, I will explain everything. There's much to discuss and little time." As they walked through the corridors of the domed structure, Lilith began to explain the situation. Her people, the Lizarians, were facing an existential threat from a rival faction known as the Dracoth. The Dracoth were a brutal, warlike species bent on conquering and enslaving the Lizarians. They had managed to breach the outer defenses and were now advancing towards the heart of the Lizarian territory. "We've been trying to hold them off," Lilith said, her voice filled with determination, "but we're outnumbered and outgunned. Our only hope was to send out a distress signal, hoping anyone, would come to our aid." Gareth listened intently, his mind racing as he absorbed the gravity of the situation. This was no ordinary rescue mission. It was a fight for survival, a battle against overwhelming odds. He knew he had to do everything in his power to help Lilith and her people. "We'll need a plan," Gareth said firmly. "We can't just rely on luck. We need to strategize, gather resources, and prepare for a counterattack." Lilith nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and resolve. "Yes, but we don't have much time. The Dracoth are advancing rapidly. We must act quickly if we're to have any chance of turning the tide." Gareth took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the responsibility settling on his shoulders. This was more than just a rescue mission. It was a chance to prove himself, to show that humanity could rise to the occasion and make a difference. As he looked at Lilith, he knew that this was the beginning of something greater, a journey that would test his limits and challenge everything he thought he knew. "All right," Gareth said, his voice filled with determination. "Let's get to work. We have a fight ahead of us, and we're going to win it." As Lilith led Gareth to the command center, the reality of the situation began to sink in. The room was filled with maps, data terminals, and Lizarian soldiers preparing for battle. Gareth knew that he had to quickly adapt to this new environment, to understand the Lizarian technology and tactics if they were to have any chance of success. "Welcome to the front lines," Lilith said, her voice resolute. "We have much to do, and every second counts. I believe in you, Gareth. You are our hope." Gareth nodded, feeling a surge of determination. He had come to answer a distress call, but now he was committed to something much greater. As he prepared for the battle ahead, he knew that he was not just fighting for Lilith and her people, but for the future of their world and the hope of a brighter tomorrow. The battle begins. The Lizarian Command Center was a hive of activity. Gareth took in the scene, technicians working furiously at their consoles, strategists debating plans of action, and soldiers preparing for combat. The weight of the situation pressed down on him, but he pushed through, focusing on the task at hand. Lilith led Gareth to a large tactical display where a holographic map of the system was projected. The map showed the approaching Dracoth fleet, their ships looming ominously on the edge of the Lizarian territory. Red markers indicated their positions, while blue markers represented the Lizarian defenses. "Our situation is dire," Lilith said, her voice steady despite the stress. "The Dracoth are overwhelming our defenses and pushing deeper into our territory. We need to mount a counter-offensive and push them back before they reach our main cities." Gareth studied the map, trying to make sense of the tactical situation. "What's the current strength of our forces? Do we have any advantage or support we can call upon?" Lilith gestured to a series of data terminals. We have a few hidden bases and allied outposts scattered throughout the system. They could provide support, but we need to coordinate with them quickly. We also have a secret weapon, a prototype energy shield generator that could turn the tide if we can deploy it in time. Gareth's eyes widened. A secret weapon? That could make all the difference. How soon can we get it operational? Lilith's expression grew determined. We have it in a secure facility not far from here. However, we need to ensure it is properly integrated with our existing systems and fortified against any Dracov attacks. As Gareth absorbed the information, he realized the scale of the task ahead. Coordinating a defense, deploying the prototype, and preparing for a counterattack were no small feats. But he was determined to rise to the challenge. "We need to act fast," Gareth said, his voice firm. "Let's deploy the energy shield and rally our forces. We'll need to be ready for a full-scale assault." Lilith nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of hope and apprehension. "I'll coordinate with our allies and prepare the shield. You handle the logistics and rally the troops. We must make sure that every available unit is ready for battle." With a plan in place, Gareth set to work. He moved through the command center, rallying the Lysarian soldiers and ensuring that they were prepared for the impending conflict. The atmosphere was tense, but there was also a sense of camaraderie and determination among the troops. As the hours passed, Gareth coordinated with the various units, preparing for the battle ahead. The Lysarian forces began to assemble, their ships and weapons ready for the fight. Gareth could see the resolve in their eyes, the same determination that drove him to answer the distress call. The battle began with a sudden burst of energy, a coordinated attack by the Dracov fleet as they surged forward, their ships darkening the skies. The Lysarian defenses were immediately put to the test as laser blasts and missiles streaked through space. Gareth watched from the command center, his heart pounding as he observed the unfolding conflict. The energy shield prototype was deployed, its shimmering barrier flickering into place and deflecting the incoming attacks. It was a sight to behold, a tangible symbol of hope and resilience. Despite the shield's protective barrier, the battle was fierce. The Dracov forces were relentless, their ships advancing steadily and launching devastating assaults. The Lysarian defenders fought bravely, their ships darting in and out of the fray, but the enemy's numbers and firepower were overwhelming. Gareth continued to coordinate with the troops, his mind racing as he sought any advantage they could exploit. The Lysarian forces were holding their own, but they needed more support, more firepower to turn the tide of the battle. As the hours wore on, Gareth felt the exhaustion setting in, but he refused to give in, pushing himself to the limit as he fought alongside the Lysarian defenders. The battle was far from over, and every moment counted. Finally, as the battle reached its climax, Gareth saw an opportunity. The Dracov had focused their assault on a single point in the Lysarian defenses, leaving a vulnerable spot exposed. Gareth quickly relayed the information to Lilith, who coordinated a counterattack with the remaining forces. With a final coordinated push, the Lysarian forces managed to drive the Dracov back, their ships retreating from the battlefield. The energy shield held firm, protecting the remaining defenses and ensuring that the enemy could not regroup. As the dust settled and the battle came to an end, Gareth felt a wave of relief and exhaustion wash over him. The immediate threat had been repelled, but the war was far from over. There would be more battles to fight, more challenges to face. Lilith approached Gareth, her eyes filled with gratitude and respect. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "You helped us turn the tide of the battle. We couldn't have done it without you." Gareth nodded, a tired smile on his face. It was a team effort. We all played a part in this victory. Lilith's expression softened, and she placed a hand on Gareth's shoulder. "I am grateful for your bravery and dedication. You've shown that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. And more than that, you've shown that there is hope for a brighter future." As Gareth looked around the command center, he felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. The battle had been hard fought, but they had succeeded in pushing back the Dracoth and securing a temporary victory. But even as he celebrated the hard-won victory, Gareth knew that the fight was far from over. The Dracoth would regroup, and there would be more battles to come. But for now, he was content to bask in the glory of their achievement and savor the sense of purpose that had driven him to this point. As the sun rose over the battlefield, casting a warm glow over the Lysarian world, Gareth felt a renewed sense of hope. He had come to answer a distress call, and in doing so, he had found a new purpose, a new mission. The journey ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it head-on, to continue fighting for a future where hope and courage could triumph over adversity. You said, unlikely allies. In the aftermath of the battle, the Lysarian command center was a hive of activity, but the mood was cautiously optimistic. Gareth, though exhausted, was deeply involved in the post-battle coordination. The immediate threat of the Dracoth had been repelled, but the cost had been high, and the road ahead was uncertain. As Gareth worked alongside Lilith and her team, he began to understand the broader context of the conflict. The Dracoth were not just a rogue faction. They were a formidable empire with extensive resources and a relentless drive for conquest. The Lysarians, on the other hand, were a peaceful and technologically advanced species, but they were struggling to fend off their aggressive neighbors. Lilith had been working tirelessly, coordinating with various Lysarian units and allies. Gareth could see the strain in her eyes, but she maintained her composure, driven by a fierce determination to protect her people. "How are our allies responding?" Gareth asked as he joined Lilith at a holographic display of the system. "We've received some support from the neighboring systems," Lilith replied, her voice steady. "But it's not enough. We need more resources and reinforcements if we're to mount a sustained defense." Gareth nodded, recognizing the gravity of the situation. "What about the secret weapon you mentioned? How's the integration going?" Lilith's expression grew serious. "The prototype shield generator has been successfully integrated with our systems. However, it's still in the testing phase. We need to ensure it can withstand a prolonged assault and is fully operational before deploying it in the field." As they spoke, a new communication came in, a distress signal from one of the Lysarian outposts. The message was garbled and filled with static, but it was clear enough to indicate that they were under attack. Lilith's eyes widened with concern. "We need to respond to that immediately. If the Dracoth have breached our outposts, it could mean they're preparing for a larger offensive." Gareth agreed, and they quickly mobilized a response team. As they prepared to depart, Lilith turned to Gareth with a serious expression. "This outpost is located on the edge of our territory. We'll be crossing into Dracoth-controlled space. We'll need to be cautious and prepared for anything." Gareth nodded, understanding the risks involved. "Let's get moving. We can't afford to lose any more ground." The journey to the outpost was tense. The Lysarian forces moved swiftly, their ships cutting through space with a sense of urgency. Gareth felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, knowing that their actions could mean the difference between survival and defeat. When they arrived at the outpost, they found it heavily damaged but still operational. The Lysarian defenders had put up a fierce fight, but they were clearly outmatched by the Dracoth forces. Gareth and Lilith coordinated a counteroffensive, working to push back the Dracoth attackers and stabilize the outpost. The battle was intense, with laser fire and explosions illuminating the dark expanse of space. Gareth fought alongside the Lysarian soldiers, his training and experience coming into play as they fought to regain control. Despite their efforts, the Dracoth forces were formidable. The Lysarians managed to hold their ground, but it was clear that they needed more support to turn the tide. As Gareth fought, he noticed something unusual, a Dracoth vessel moving independently from the main fleet. It seemed to be operating with a different strategy, and Gareth couldn't shake the feeling that it might be important. After the battle, Gareth reported his observations to Lilith. There was a Dracoth vessel operating differently from the rest. It might be worth investigating. It could provide insights into their strategy or reveal weaknesses we can exploit. Lilith considered Gareth's words, her brow furrowed in thought. That's a valuable observation. We'll need to investigate further. But first, we must ensure that the outpost is secure and that our forces are in good shape. As they worked to stabilize the outpost and tend to the wounded, Lilith's second-in-command, a grizzled veteran named Eric, approached Gareth. "You fought bravely today," Eric said, extending a hand. "I wanted to thank you personally for your help." Gareth shook Eric's hand, his expression sincere. "It's been an honor to fight alongside you. We're all in this together." Eric nodded, his expression reflecting a mix of respect and gratitude. The Lizarians have always been a peaceful people, but we're discovering that we need to be more than that. We need to be strong, resilient, and united if we're to survive. Gareth agreed. Strength and unity are crucial. We'll need to rely on each other and adapt to the challenges we face. As they prepared to leave the outpost, Lilith received a transmission from an unexpected source, a message from a previously unknown alien faction. The message was a request for a meeting, and the sender claimed to have information that could help in the fight against the Drokoth. Lilith and Gareth exchanged puzzled glances. "This could be an opportunity," Lilith said, her voice filled with cautious optimism. "But we need to be careful. We don't know their intentions or whether they can be trusted." Gareth nodded. "Agreed. But if they have valuable information, it could be worth the risk. Let's arrange a meeting and see what they have to offer." The following day, Lilith, Gareth, and a small delegation traveled to the location of the meeting, a remote space station on the fringes of the Lizarian territory. The station was old and worn, but it provided a neutral ground for negotiations. As they arrived, they were greeted by representatives of the unknown faction, an enigmatic species known as the Vartans. The Vartans were a mysterious and reclusive people, known for their advanced technology and deep knowledge of the galaxy. The leader of the Vartans, a tall and imposing figure named Relak, welcomed them. "Thank you for coming," Relak said, his voice deep and resonant. "We have been observing the conflict between the Lizarians and the Drokoth. We believe we have information that could be of great use to you." Lilith and Gareth listened attentively as Relak and his team began to explain their knowledge of the Drokoth and their strategies. The Vartans had been tracking the Drokoth for years and had insights into their weaknesses and vulnerabilities. As the meeting progressed, Gareth realized that this alliance with the Vartans could be a turning point in their struggle. The information they provided was invaluable, offering new strategies and tactics that could help them in their fight against the Drokoth. After the meeting, Lilith and Gareth discussed their next steps. "The Vartans have given us crucial information," Lilith said, her voice filled with determination. "We need to integrate this new knowledge into our strategies and continue to strengthen our defenses." Gareth agreed. "We'll need to act quickly and decisively. The Drokoth won't wait for us to get ready." As they returned to the Lizarian Command Center, Gareth felt a renewed sense of hope. The alliance with the Vartans had provided them with new opportunities and strategies. They were still facing formidable challenges, but they now had additional resources and insights to help them in their fight. The journey ahead would be difficult, but Gareth was more determined than ever. With the support of his allies and the courage of the Lizarians, he was ready to face the trials that lay ahead and continue the battle for a brighter future. The turning point. The aftermath of the recent battles left the Lizarian forces at a critical juncture. The new intelligence from the Vartans had sparked a sense of renewed purpose, but the conflict was far from over. Gareth and Lilith knew that every decision they made now could tip the balance of power. In the days following their meeting with the Vartans, the Lizarian Command Center was abuzz with activity. The data provided by the Vartans had revealed several weaknesses in the Drokoth fleet, including vulnerabilities in their supply lines and key strategic positions. Lilith and Gareth, along with their team, worked tirelessly to incorporate these insights into their battle plans. Gareth found himself increasingly involved in strategic planning sessions with Lilith and her advisors. His military experience and quick thinking had earned him the respect of the Lizarian leadership, and his insights were proving invaluable. The joint efforts were starting to pay off as they formulated a series of coordinated strikes aimed at disrupting the Dracov's supply chains and weakening their front lines. Despite the progress, the stress of the ongoing conflict was taking a toll on everyone. Lilith, in particular, appeared exhausted, her once bright eyes now shadowed with the weight of command. Gareth noticed her struggle and made it a point to offer support wherever he could. One evening, as they reviewed the latest tactical reports, Gareth saw an opportunity to speak with Lilith privately. "You've been pushing yourself hard, Lilith. We need you at your best if we're to succeed." Lilith looked up from the holographic display, her face reflecting a mixture of gratitude and fatigue. "I appreciate your concern, Gareth. It's just, this war is taking everything from us. I can't afford to slow down." Gareth nodded, understanding her determination. "I know how hard this is, but remember, we're in this together. We all need to be at our best if we're to make a difference." Lilith managed a faint smile. "You're right. I'll try to take it easier, but it's hard when so much is at stake." As the days progressed, the Lizarians launched their first major offensive based on the Vartan intelligence. The operation aimed to strike at a critical Dracov supply depot located near the edge of Lizarian space. The mission was risky, but the potential rewards were significant. Gareth and Lilith oversaw the operation from the command center, their eyes fixed on the live feed from the battlefield. The Lizarian fleet, equipped with the new strategies and tactics, moved with precision. The battle was intense, with the Lizarians engaging the Dracov forces in a fierce clash. The Lizarian ships, using the Vartan intelligence to their advantage, managed to target the Dracov supply lines effectively. The attack disrupted the Dracov's logistical support, creating a ripple effect that weakened their overall position. It was a hard-fought victory, but the Lizarians had successfully achieved their objective. As the battle concluded, Gareth and Lilith reviewed the aftermath. The operation had been a success, but the Dracov were already regrouping and preparing for a counterattack. It was clear that the conflict was far from over. In the days following the offensive, the Lizarian forces took advantage of their newfound momentum. They launched a series of coordinated strikes aimed at further weakening the Dracov's grip on key territories. The tide of the conflict was beginning to shift, and the Lizarians were gaining ground. Despite the progress, the war continued to take its toll on both sides. The Lizarian command center was a constant hub of activity, with strategic meetings and planning sessions taking place around the clock. Gareth continued to play a crucial role, his strategic insights helping to guide the Lizarian forces through the complexities of the conflict. One evening, as Gareth and Lilith reviewed the latest reports, a new transmission came through. A high-priority message from the Vartans. The transmission was marked with urgency, and Gareth and Lilith quickly accessed the communication. The message was from Relak, the Vartan leader. "We have received troubling intelligence." Relak's voice crackled through the transmission. "The Dracov are preparing a massive offensive, and their forces are mobilizing for a decisive strike. They are targeting a key Lizarian stronghold." Lilith's eyes widened with concern. If the Dracov succeed in this offensive, it could be a major setback for us. Gareth nodded, his expression grim. "We need to act quickly to defend the stronghold and prepare for the impending assault." Lilith and Gareth immediately convened a strategic meeting with their top advisors. They reviewed the Vartan intelligence and formulated a plan to defend the stronghold. The operation would require precise coordination and the deployment of all available resources. As the days ticked by, the Lizarian forces prepared for the impending battle. The atmosphere was tense, but there was also a sense of determination. The recent successes had boosted morale, and the Lizarians were ready to face the challenge head-on. The day of the Dracov offensive arrived. The skies over the Lizarian stronghold were filled with the shadow of the approaching Dracov fleet. The battle began with a ferocious clash, with both sides exchanging heavy fire. Gareth fought alongside the Lizarian defenders, his tactical skills and leadership proving crucial in the defense. Lilith, too, was actively involved, coordinating the defense and directing reinforcements to critical areas. The battle was intense and grueling, but the Lizarians managed to hold their ground. The Dracov forces, though powerful, were met with fierce resistance. The newly acquired intelligence from the Vartans played a key role in countering the Dracov strategies, allowing the Lizarians to adapt and respond effectively. As the battle raged on, Gareth and Lilith fought with determination and courage. The clash of forces echoed through the cosmos, and the outcome of the battle would shape the future of the conflict. By the end of the day, the Dracov offensive had been repelled. The stronghold had held, and the Lizarians had achieved a significant victory. The battle had been hard-fought, but it marked a turning point in the war. In the aftermath, Gareth and Lilith stood together, surveying the damage and the triumphs of the day. The conflict was far from over, but the Lizarians had demonstrated their strength and resilience. "We've made a significant step forward," Gareth said, his voice filled with resolve. "But we need to remain vigilant. The Dracov will regroup and come back stronger." Lilith nodded, her expression reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and determination. "Agreed. We'll use this victory as a foundation to build upon and continue our fight. The future of our people depends on it." As the Lizarian forces began the process of recovery and rebuilding, Gareth and Lilith prepared for the next phase of their struggle. The war was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battle had shown that, despite the odds, the Lizarians had the strength and courage to persevere. The journey was far from complete, but Gareth knew that with each victory, they were drawing closer to the ultimate goal, securing a future of peace and stability for the Lizarians and their allies. The Alliance's gambit. The victory at the stronghold was a pivotal moment in the conflict, but Gareth and Lilith knew that it was only the beginning. The Dracov were regrouping and preparing for their next move, and the Lizarian command center was once again a hive of activity. In the weeks following the battle, the Lizarian forces fortified their defenses and worked to repair the damage inflicted during the intense skirmish. The morale of the troops was high, buoyed by the recent victory, but there was also a sense of anticipation. Everyone knew that the Dracov would not give up easily. Gareth continued to work closely with Lilith and her advisors, analyzing the aftermath of the battle and preparing for future engagements. The Vartans, too, were deeply involved in the strategic discussions, providing crucial intelligence and support. One evening, as Gareth and Lilith reviewed the latest updates, a high-ranking Vartan envoy arrived at the command center. The envoy, an imposing figure named Soran, carried a message of great importance from Rilak. Soran approached Gareth and Lilith with a serious expression. "Rilak has sent us new intelligence. The Dracov are planning a large-scale offensive aimed at a crucial Lizarian industrial world. If they succeed, it could cripple our war effort." Lilith's face tightened with concern. "We need to act quickly to prevent this from happening. What can we do?" Soran nodded. "Rilak has suggested a bold strategy. We need to launch a preemptive strike against the Dracov forces before they can execute their plans. It will require a coordinated effort from all our forces, but it may be our best chance to turn the tide." Gareth looked at Lilith, his eyes reflecting determination. A preemptive strike could catch the Dracov off guard. It's a risky move, but it might be the key to disrupting their plans. Lilith took a deep breath, weighing the options. "Agreed. We'll need to gather all available resources and coordinate with the Vartans for maximum impact. This is our opportunity to take the initiative." The next few days were filled with intense preparation. The Lizarian and Vartan forces worked together to devise a comprehensive plan for the preemptive strike. The operation would involve a coordinated assault on a key Dracov base that was believed to be the staging ground for the upcoming offensive. The plan was ambitious and required precise execution. The Lizarians and Vartans would launch simultaneous attacks on multiple fronts to overwhelm the Dracov defenses and disrupt their preparations. The success of the operation would depend on the ability to strike swiftly and decisively. As the day of the operation approached, Gareth and Lilith were busy overseeing the final preparations. The atmosphere was tense, but there was also a sense of determination and hope. The upcoming strike was seen as a crucial opportunity to gain the upper hand. On the day of the operation, the combined forces of the Lysarians and Vartans launched their attack. The assault was swift and coordinated, with ships and troops striking at key Dracov installations. The Dracov were caught off guard, and the initial stages of the attack went according to plan. Gareth and Lilith were on the command bridge, closely monitoring the progress of the operation. The battle unfolded in real time, with the Lysarian and Vartan forces engaging the Dracov in a fierce clash. The Dracov, though initially surprised, quickly mobilized their defenses. The battle became a fierce struggle, with both sides exchanging heavy fire. The Lysarian and Vartan forces pressed their advantage, using their coordinated tactics to maintain the upper hand. As the battle raged on, Gareth noticed a crucial development on the battlefield. A Dracov command ship was attempting to regroup and launch a counterattack. Realizing the potential threat, Gareth quickly relayed the information to Lilith. "We need to take out that command ship," Gareth said, his voice urgent. "If it gets operational, it could turn the tide of the battle." Lilith nodded, her face set with determination. "Deploy additional forces to target the command ship. We can't afford to let it escape." The order was given, and a concentrated effort was made to neutralize the Dracov command ship. The battle continued with intense fighting, but the coordinated strike against the command ship proved effective. The vessel was soon disabled, and the Dracov forces were thrown into disarray. With their command structure disrupted, the Dracov began to falter. The Lysarian and Vartan forces pressed their advantage, pushing forward and securing key objectives. The battle was hard-fought, but the tide was clearly turning in their favor. As the dust began to settle, it became evident that the operation had been a success. The Dracov forces were in retreat, and their plans for the large-scale offensive were effectively thwarted. The combined efforts of the Lysarians and Vartans had delivered a decisive blow. In the aftermath of the battle, Gareth and Lilith stood together, surveying the results. The operation had achieved its objective, but the war was far from over. The Dracov was still a formidable adversary, and the conflict would continue. Gareth looked at Lilith, his expression one of satisfaction and resolve. "We've made significant progress, but there's still more work to be done. The Dracov will regroup and strike back. We need to remain vigilant." Lilith nodded, her face reflecting a mixture of relief and determination. "Agreed. This victory gives us a crucial advantage, but we can't afford to let our guard down. We'll use its momentum to continue our efforts and push forward." The Lysarian and Vartan forces began the process of recovery and rebuilding, preparing for the next phase of the conflict. The battle had shown the power of their alliance and the strength of their resolve. As Gareth and Lilith continued their efforts, they knew that the path ahead would be challenging. But the recent victories had demonstrated their ability to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals. The fight was far from over, but with each success, they were drawing closer to their ultimate goal, securing peace and stability in the galaxy. The journey was far from complete, but Gareth and Lilith remained steadfast in their commitment. They were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that their combined strength and determination would be the key to shaping the future of the conflict. The dawn of unity. The aftermath of the battle was a time of reflection and regrouping. The Lysarian and Vartan forces, having achieved a significant victory, were now focused on consolidating their gains and preparing for the next stages of the conflict. The operational success had given them a crucial edge, but the war was far from over. Gareth and Lilith stood in the command center, overseeing the recovery efforts and planning their next moves. The Lysarian leadership had called for a series of strategic meetings to evaluate the outcomes of the recent operations and to discuss future tactics. The mood in the command center was one of cautious optimism, tempered by the understanding that the Dracov would likely regroup and counterattack. Lilith turned to Gareth, her expression one of deep thought. "We've gained some much-needed ground, but we need to ensure that our victory has a lasting impact. It's crucial that we use this momentum to solidify our position and prevent any resurgence of Dracov aggression. Gareth nodded in agreement. I agree. We should also consider diplomatic channels. We need to demonstrate that our alliance is not only a military force, but also a unified front in terms of diplomacy and peace efforts. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Relak, the Vartan leader. Relak approached with a determined look on his face. The Vartan Council has been reviewing the recent developments. We believe it's time to make a bold move. Lilith raised an eyebrow. What do you have in mind, Relak? Relak took a deep breath before speaking. We propose an initiative to establish a formal peace summit. It's time to extend an olive branch to the Dracov. We believe that presenting a united front and offering a path to peace could sway the more moderate elements within their ranks. Gareth and Lilith exchanged thoughtful glances. The idea of a peace summit was a significant step, but it was also a risky one. It required careful consideration and preparation. Lilith addressed Relak. A peace summit could indeed be a powerful move, but we must ensure that it's conducted from a position of strength. We need to make sure that the Dracov understand that this offer is serious and that any discussions will be based on mutual respect and genuine intentions. Relak nodded. Understood. We'll coordinate with our allies and prepare a detailed proposal for the summit. It will be crucial to convey that we are committed to finding a peaceful resolution, but are also prepared to defend our interests if necessary. The proposal for the peace summit was soon drafted and presented to the Lissarian and Vartan leadership. The initiative was met with a mix of hope and skepticism. The peace summit represented a chance to end the conflict, but it also carried the risk of being perceived as a sign of weakness. In preparation for the summit, Gareth and Lilith worked tirelessly to ensure that the proposal was clear and compelling. They outlined the terms for a potential peace agreement and emphasized the benefits of a lasting resolution for both sides. Their goal was to present a united front that would appeal to the Dracov's sense of reason and self-preservation. As the date for the summit approached, Gareth and Lilith reviewed their strategies and prepared for the negotiations. The peace summit was to be held on neutral ground, a planet that neither side claimed as its own. The location was chosen to symbolize the possibility of a new beginning. The day of the summit arrived, and representatives from the Lissarian, Vartan, and Dracov factions gathered on the neutral planet. The atmosphere was tense, with both sides bringing their best diplomats and negotiators to the table. Gareth and Lilith, along with Relak and other key figures, were ready to participate in the discussions. The summit began with a formal opening ceremony, and the delegations took their seats at the negotiation table. The Dracov representatives, led by their chief negotiator, were initially wary but seemed willing to engage in dialogue. Gareth and Lilith took turns presenting their case for peace, outlining the benefits of a negotiated settlement and the potential for a new era of cooperation. They emphasized the need for mutual respect and the importance of addressing the underlying issues that had fueled the conflict. The Dracov negotiators listened attentively, their expressions reflecting a mix of skepticism and contemplation. The discussions were intense, with both sides presenting their perspectives and negotiating terms. There were moments of tension, but there were also signs of progress. One key breakthrough came when Gareth and Lilith proposed a shared vision for the future, a joint effort to rebuild and develop the regions affected by the conflict. They emphasized the potential for economic cooperation and cultural exchange, which resonated with some of the Dracov representatives. As the summit continued, it became clear that there were factions within the Dracov delegation who were genuinely interested in finding a peaceful resolution. These individuals began to advocate for the proposed terms and sought common ground with the Lissarian and Vartan representatives. After several days of intense negotiations, the summit reached a crucial turning point. The delegations agreed on a preliminary framework for peace, which included a ceasefire, provisions for mutual security, and a roadmap for further negotiations on specific issues. The signing of the preliminary agreement was a historic moment, symbolizing a significant step toward ending the conflict. The representatives exchanged formal agreements, and the atmosphere in the negotiation chamber was one of cautious optimism. As the summit concluded, Gareth, Lilith, and Relak reflected on the progress made. The peace agreement was a promising development, but they knew that the real work lay ahead in implementing the terms and ensuring that the commitment to peace was upheld. The aftermath of the summit brought a new sense of hope to the galaxy. The ceasefire allowed for humanitarian efforts to reach the affected regions, and the focus shifted to rebuilding and fostering cooperation between the different factions. Gareth and Lilith continued to work closely with their allies, overseeing the implementation of the peace agreement and addressing any challenges that arose. Their efforts were instrumental in shaping the future of the galaxy and ensuring that the hard-won peace was sustained. In the months that followed, the galaxy began to experience a transformation. The cooperation between the Lysarians, Vartans, and Drokoth led to a period of rebuilding and renewal. The once war-torn regions saw signs of recovery, and the collaborative efforts paved the way for a new era of understanding and progress. The story of Gareth and Lilith's journey became a symbol of hope and resilience. Their leadership and dedication had played a crucial role in achieving a lasting peace, and their legacy was remembered as a testament to the power of unity and determination. As they looked to the future, Gareth and Lilith knew that the path ahead would still hold challenges, but they were confident in the strength of their alliance and the potential for a brighter, more harmonious galaxy. The dawn of unity had arrived, and with it came the promise of a new beginning for all.